Well, I'm James Graves. I go by Visual Jams online. I create geometric illustrations. I have a real passion for Jesus, so a lot of my art is based on that. And I work full-time at Fairhaven Church in Dayton, Ohio. At the church, I support the ministries, so I take their message and I just make it compelling and eye-catching and interesting. Yeah, I really like creating illustrations, and I have a lot of passions. So most of the time I'm talking about Jesus. I'm creating art based on what he's been teaching me over the last decade. But sometimes I'm creating stuff like fan art for Lord of the Rings or a video game I'm playing. Once I decided I wanted to develop a unique style, I wanted to see what authentically would come out of me. I started by going back to my childhood, thinking and pondering about how I created back then, before I was so saturated with inspiration. I literally started playing with toys again, grab this dinosaur, put them on top, come up with a story, and then I would draw those characters in those stories. Things that I would do naturally. I mean, we're inspired by everything. It's impossible to create art that is not inspired by anything, but I wasn't like looking at something and saying, okay, I want to emulate that. I was very drawn to like geometric stuff and just really simple shapes, hard lines. Started forming a list of rules to follow. I'm taking these elements, I'm putting them together, and it's becoming this kind of abstract thing that has a lot of depth and meaning, but still utilizing that like very stylized light and shadow. Being a follower of Jesus means believing that Jesus knows the best way to be human, and start there before any action happens, before your art is affected or anything. If I follow him, if I do it his way, it will be best for me and the world. I used to do almost exclusively stuff for like banks, but at the time I didn't really care to let Jesus affect me or to talk about Jesus much. When I recommitted my life to Christ after going through some stuff in my life, I just couldn't be quiet about it. Oh my gosh, God can actually affect people in this day and age like he did in the Bible. Like he's still alive and active and moving, and he's doing things in my life, and my life is becoming so much better. There's still tons of hardship, but I am so much happier and at peace in those hardships. I want everyone to have this. All my art started being Christian related, just based on what God was teaching me, because I was, diving into it. People talk about what they're passionate about. So if you're passionate about your faith and you're passionate about becoming the best kind of person that you can, and you believe that Jesus is that bar, you're gonna talk about it, and it's gonna influence everything. So I really wanted to capture creativity. The conference is for all kinds of creatives. I wanted to just capture it as vaguely as possible, was my original goal. So I had like someone flying with birds, this other person looking through a door, and then this hand drawing with like an explosion of creativity coming out of it. It felt cool, but it all felt like too much stuff. Pretty quickly I decided I wanted to just have one subject. So I landed on like this idea with the pencil in the hand, which is something I'm passionate about, but also I wanted it to feel like it's like ideation. It's coming up with that creativity and that excitement of like, oh, I'm gonna get this on paper, I'm gonna write this down, creativity in action, right? And then from that flow and our creativity kind of like, we're offering it out to the world, and it's bright, it's colorful, maybe a little chaotic, maybe a little hard to understand even, but I think in a good way. Then I played around with ways to try to get God into the art. I wanted it to either feel like, we're showing God to people through our creativity. That was my first go around. And so I had like a cross, I think, maybe a couple other symbols inside the actual creative flow. Kind of reworked it a little bit, and I came up with this idea, or maybe God brought me to this idea, I don't know, of just putting almost like a tattoo on the hand, because the creativity is all powered by him. We're created to create, and all of our creativity comes from him. But like he's the one who's making all the art through us. We're his hands and feet. Obviously there's a lot of other things involved as well. I had to play with the color palette that I was given, which was fun. Playing around with layout around that logo. Diligent work about how do I make this look as cool as possible. So there's a lot of little puzzles I had to figure out. The meaning behind it, it's all a sacrifice of creativity sent out into the world, powered by Jesus.